So Henry, explain to the audience when, where, what it was like when the idea of doing the miniseries on your father and his book, how that came to be.
Okay, my brother and I had a conversation in early 2004. And at this point, I had seen Band of Brothers a bajillion times. I'd seen Saving Private Ryan a bajillion times. Absolutely loved the work of Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. And it was a dream of mine that somehow they would become interested in With the Old Breed and the whole Eugene Sledge story. But I really wasn't expecting it to happen. Well, early 2004, my brother called me one day and he said, Henry, I'm getting indications that somebody's making inquiries on getting the film rights to With the Old Breed. And I said, okay. And he said, it's HBO. And I said, okay, well, that's wow, that's pretty interesting. And very quickly, the name Bruce McKenna came to our attention. Bruce was one of the executive producers, creators, and writers of Band of Brothers, who is now a dear friend of my family and of me personally. Subsequently, my mother and I flew out to Hollywood in April of 2004 when we found out that indeed HBO was buying the film rights to With the Old Breed. And we flew out to Hollywood. We corresponded with Bruce McKenna. We sat down with him. We sat down with Hugh Ambrose, who was, of course, the son of Stephen Ambrose. Thus began a friendship and a collaboration, really. And Bruce pretty much laid it all out there, Don. I mean, he said that Band of Brothers had been this kind of unforeseen, phenomenal success, and that Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg felt very strongly about doing something for the guys in the Pacific. And how he came to know my father's book, I don't know. I've got to get him to refresh my memory on that. But he went in to sit down with them, and he held up a copy of With the Old Breed, and he said, if you're going to do something on the Pacific War, you've got to have this book. And Tom Hanks has said, okay, I want to read it. I want to check it out. He did and was duly impressed. Steven Spielberg was really more of a silent partner in all of this. I never personally met Steven. I did meet Tom more than once and did have more than one conversation with Tom. Steven Spielberg, I think, was a little more...
Money man?
Well, he was a little more removed from the immediate process. I mean, his name was certainly on it, but, like he was directly boots on the ground with Saving Private Ryan. The Pacific, I don't think that was so much the case. But Tom Hanks was very much involved in it at every level.
Okay, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to go to episode 1 to give you guys a quick synopsis of where we're at in World War II, what the Marine Corps is going to be doing in the Pacific. And so now here, we're going to just start with John Bazelon walking into a room complete with Chesty Puller and the gang.
Bazelon, we're here.
Excuse me, folks. I miss anything?
Movie hasn't started yet.
You don't tell me I missed this thing.
Chester's come and gone. Yeah, just missed him.
Come on, did I fuck this up or what?
Oh, yeah.
Attention on deck!
Yeah, so I remember at the premiere in Hollywood when they rolled this out, William Sadler, I thought, did a really good job playing Chesty Puller. And I'd seen him in other movies, but I remember seeing him at the premiere party right there on the start, whatever the name of the theater was where they did that, and had the big bash afterwards where we interacted with Tom Hanks for a while and so on and so forth. I remember seeing William Sadler across the room, and I wanted to go talk to him. For some reason, it just didn't happen. But I thought he did a really good job with the role of Chesty Puller. Also, the short guy, you see, the short, stocky guy, you see right when they first lined up, he's the one who goes, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's Josh Baton. He's playing J.P. Morgan, who's Bazelon's friend. Josh Baton and I become good friends. He is just a phenomenal guy. He sent me a Pacific Challenge coin with this really, really nice handwritten note. I've got it somewhere in my drawer there. I should have dug it out before I knew we were going to see him. But Josh is just a really great guy. I've been on a couple podcasts with him. And, man, you talk about somebody who really feels a passion for what these guys did and having an appreciation. So any of our listeners who are catching the Pacific on Netflix, which our listeners probably are certainly not going to be people who've never seen the Pacific, but like as not, man, you're going to be hitting some people with this who have not. They're just catching it on Netflix. and just know that the young men who played these roles really had an appreciation for the real life veterans.
Now, with this particular actor and that particular character, J.P. Morgan is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the only character, quote unquote, that didn't truly exist, because the person that character is based on was alive during the filming of this, and he was also put in his 2 cents to help them fill in some of these gaps. And the way I understood it is he preferred not to sign over his likeness rights over to HBO. And so they made up the name J.P. Morgan, which I don't know why they did, because everybody thinks J.P. Morgan Chase. Like, oh, wait a minute. The guy who started J.P. Morgan Chase? No. For some reason, they made up that name to assign to a Marine who really existed, but who didn't want to give over his likeness rights to HBO. And so
that's a good question. I will tell you, I mean, as we progress through the series, and like in part 9, we're on Okinawa, we're going to meet a couple of characters who were composite characters who did not really exist, but we'll get to that. But yeah, Josh's character, JP, was actually fictitious in the name JP Morgan.
Yes.
And you are right. It was not.
He was a real person, but that was not his name.